Welcome to the Cyber AI Chronicles podcast presented by DigitalEdge, where strategy meets security and trust empowers growth. My name is Stacey Jennifer, and I'm your host for today's episode. Hello, we are here today with Craig Sandman from Cybersecurity, as well as Michael Petrov from DigitalEdge. Thank you for being here, and if you'd like to introduce yourself along with your company, Craig, I pass the mic to you.
Great, thank you, Stacey. It's very nice to be here with you all. I'm Craig Sandman, the CEO and co-founder of Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a security awareness training organization. We help companies of all sizes reduce risk and stay compliant through our security awareness training, education, and our risk reduction tools, including darknet monitoring, email threat alerting, and policy adherence as well. So we've been in business since 2018, and really excited to be here today with you all.
And my name is Michael Petrov. I am the CEO of DigitalEdge, and we highly concentrate on cybersecurity and compliance. So we suggest our clients to use Craig's programs and highly recommend the materials to educate themselves. But also we feel that education is one of the most important aspects of cybersecurity because the tools, software, anti-malware, any cybersecurity tooling without cybersecurity knowledge is as you have weapons in the fortress, but you don't have soldiers, you don't have a garrison to protect. So it's a very important subject, and let's go ahead and start the discussion.
So what are some trends that are emerging that you're seeing in cyber education and compliance?
A great question, Stacey. What we've seen, particularly in the last couple of years, is a pivot, and that pivot is really emerging and growing from box checking. So organizations that are looking for simply just evidence of a program. And in some cases, it might have been simple as like a screenshot of a dashboard or, like a single report that showed that the program was running, right? Some sort of proof of life of the security awareness training program. Now companies are interested in the quality of the program. So what are my users actually getting out of this? Show me that this education is working. It's the next level. And largely it's because as much as we as an industry have focused on education and delivering programs out to quantities of companies, the underlying statistics for cybercrime aren't really going away. They're not being reduced in any way. We still see humans as a major player in the success of cybercrime, meaning human error leads to cybercrime a fair amount, and certainly still is the number one issue we see in protecting businesses' data. So for those reasons, companies are interested in not just showing evidence so that they can successfully answer a DDQ or get cyber insurance or whatever the case might be that's driving the question. They're now interested in the quality level. So it drives different conversations than we used to have. So companies used to say, okay, let's get launched, and then please show me the report when this is done. Now we're having more conversations with clients and through partners that's proof of it working. Show me this is working. Show me how we're reducing risk. I want to see it on a person-by-person basis. If someone faltered and clicked on a simulation or did something they weren't supposed to do, how are we treating that specific person and helping to correct their behavior? So that's absolutely been probably the most obvious trend I've seen, particularly in the last couple of years.
Right, and we see that people are clicking on, and the same group of people. It's not that, like every company would have one or two guys that are constantly falling in the trap of, simulations. And the question is if the training is effective or not. And it's a very big deal to make sure that people not just sit through the training, but kind of process it and it becomes part of their normality and day-to-day operation. I think it's like it's a very challenging. Let me ask you this question. Imagine someone from high school, the person would go to normal business training and become positioned somewhat like a bank teller. And the person is getting emails on the computer from time to time. What do you think is the most important training, and how many hours do you have to train that person? And I understand that he will be probably trained as an organization, but if you take one person who has like very basic technology skills and sit behind the computer, what would you have to do with that person? What would you have to give him to like understand? Okay, don't click here, don't click there, don't put your date of birth on on social media and things like that.
It's a good question. There's a lot of things to cover in the world of kind of taking somebody from zero knowledge to being very good at cyber hygiene. The most important things we focus on right away, one is with phishing, and it's the technical identification of an email. So it's really interesting, and this happens to me all the time, of course, because I'm in the business. But I will have conversations with people, all social circles and varying degrees of familiarity with an email at a technical level, and they'll want to talk to me about how they saw a suspicious email, or they identified something that wasn't right. And I'll ask them, well, how did you know? And what's interesting is a lot of times they don't really have the right answer, because they got lucky, right? They identified it through a hunch rather than making a technical assessment, for instance, of the sender name being not from a domain that they recognize, or a link that was shortened or was obviously leading to a place that wasn't safe. So I start, and our programs start with email identification as the number one thing that a person should learn. How to identify right away if an email is potentially malicious. You might not be able to say for 100% that it's safe, particularly with account takeovers and things like that. It might be an email that but number one, if that domain is faulty, meaning it's not the email address is coming from a sender domain that you don't know, and you can't verify, then that's red flag number one. And then obviously, if we're engaging in any kind of link clicking or link assessment, QR codes, those are hazards and kind of red flag number two. Those two things, there's other important things, but those two things are the most important. I would start there as number one with a brand new person. And the second, particularly in financial spaces, or particularly where somebody has unusually high access to things, verification is number two. Verification is, you are who you say you are, or who I believe you to be. How do we prove that? And obviously with AI, that's becoming a harder thing to do. In the past, you used to be able to listen to somebody's voice and say, oh, I know that's Joe. Or you would see a video and you would say, yeah, that's definitely, Mary or whomever. Now you can't be sure, right? Because we have deep fakes, and we have tools that are free in some cases, where you can clone your voice, or, film yourself for 5 minutes, and now you've got this AI-based actor that looks just like you, sounds just like you. So the art of verification is the second most important thing, and that's often a phone call, to the person that to be that person. Hey, did I just get this from you? Or in some cases, companies will have that procedure documented in a way that's fail-proof, the verification piece. But identifying 2 to 3 elements of phishing email, and then being able to verify you are you. If you're taking those 2 steps, you're in pretty good shape. There's other things you can do wrong, of course, but we focus from a training perspective, and we encourage companies right away when users come onto our platform, meaning they're typically new hires at that point. Those are items 1 and 2 we want them to learn right away. There's a lot of company-specific policies and next level cyber threats and things like that we get into over the course of a program. But those are 2 right away that I would say are critically important. And still, a lot of the population doesn't understand it at the depth that they need to.
You touched upon AI's role in kind of these cyber attacks and how they've made things a little bit more complicated. So I kind of have a 2-part question for you. One is exactly how do you navigate those when AI is just becoming more intelligent, especially when it comes to, already highly intelligent attacks, but then kind of on the flip side of that, how is AI currently being used to improve cybersecurity awareness training or kind of help in navigating cybersecurity? So yeah, the 2-parter question.
Sure. Yeah, AI absolutely provides an arsenal of weapons for adversaries to use against individuals. At this point, particularly with phishing or texting attacks, anything that's written, the grammar and the dialect should be good now if they're using AI tools, and there should be learning that can be done by these tools against the subject. So, my LinkedIn profile, my social media data, and dialect and grammar that matches my expectations. If I'm targeting somebody as an adversary, that's easy to do today because of all the tools that are available out there. I might even be able to go into ChatGPT and look up, my title or my type of character, so to speak, and get interesting things to say to start the conversation or to execute familiarity. So AI makes things a lot easier from a research and execution perspective. On the other side, and this is a little outside of where Symbol Security sits, but email security tooling also has that advantage, right? To be able to more easily sift through a mass of emails to understand which ones are triggering suspicion against their metrics and their algorithms and which ones aren't. So, it's being used on both sides, and certainly, that makes the game easier from a defense perspective, but also a lot easier from an adversary perspective. On our side, how are we using AI? It does shorten our time to production with the creation of content and being able to use those technologies to kind of leapfrog the process of building things. So, for instance, we're building some technology that will allow companies to specifically test their users on their own policies. We didn't have that capability before, but with the new set of tech available, we're able to dive into more company-specific information, and more people-specific results, so that we can tailor trainings and quizzes and learnings to the more specific situations rather than the generic situation. So for us, it's going to enable a much higher quality of education learning and much more targeted because of the technology that's available today.
Let me give you one example and maybe an idea or ask a question of this specific training. So imagine a situation. I learned that there is a cybersecurity incident in one of our important clients. We always get, everybody, all the talent that we have together and try to brainstorm. And the feeling is this, oh my God, not again. It's days and days in the operations, and sometimes 24/7. We organize shifts. We help the client to recover. And when you look back after that, you're always proud of the work that you did recovering client and things like this. This incident was a little bit different because there is nothing to recover. The data was stolen. My first question, and like when my heart is pumping, did we detect it or we didn't? And yes, we did detect it. So our SIEM, our tooling sense that the developer downloaded the information from the code repository, not as a checkout check-in page, but downloaded the whole repository. And that raised the flag. We looked, it was suspicious enough, so we escalated to the organization. So, long story short, we basically identified that they hired someone who is a fake person using US Social Security, VPNs, and stuff like that. From our standpoint, yeah, we're trying to detect VPN when someone is trying to get to us and stuff like that. But do you have any HR training that would teach them how to identify those fake employees, which is like very, very important in today's world when there are so many remote people? And yes, people can say, oh, DigitalEdge, they have remote people. If we don't meet someone, he has to fly to us or we have to fly, we don't hire. It's so scary today to get a fake person, fake ID, that one person will be working for five companies. Like, do you do anything there? Because it's a highly important subject.
Yeah, we haven't built a specific HR hiring video. I like the idea. It does tie back into everything that we discussed though about verification and validation, which is such an important part of cybersecurity. But I would also say you're doing things the right way from a hiring perspective anyways, because I think with all of the tech available today, forget about imposters, it's really hard to get to know somebody without having that in-person connection and that experience.
There are certain things that people are using to identify, and I think proliferation of that knowledge to HR people would be a very good, and then they're simple. But yeah, I think it could be a good contribution into safety of organizations to teach HR people.
Super interesting. And the verification of access, right? It's kind of what we're talking about. I mean, that threads its way through so many processes. It's amazing the number of times that nation state operators have been hired.
The heaviest security incidents happen when someone pretend to be a legitimate employee gets into the system. You cannot detect him. You can. We have some techniques, honeypots, for example, to identify as the person if the person is doing what he's supposed to. But it's very, very hard to identify if someone pretended to be legit logged into your system. RSA had a huge failure when some critical certificates were stolen from them through that. So I think it's a very, very important subject for even HR to understand.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, we continue to see companies try to navigate through efficiency of these technologies, and then the care and caution that they have to take, which is sometimes slows it down. So probably in the middle is that right mix of using tech like we're on a video call here today, to speed things up, but also putting the sometimes manual pieces in the middle and make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting.
So thank you so much, Craig and Michael. I know that we kind of just touched the surface on this subject, so hopefully we will have you back and we can delve a little bit deeper on this crazy, crazy subject of AI and hacking and how things are getting more difficult and more challenging. But thank you again so much for being on here. Do you have any final last words or comments to listeners on staying safe or what to be aware of?
I guess from my perspective, the battle's constant. It doesn't go away, and I think it's uncomfortable for people to constantly have to be this diligent, but that's our reality. And I encourage them, to continue to be vigilant. And, if companies like Michael's are so critical in helping companies defend themselves and protect themselves, sometimes those investments are a little bit concerning, but at the end of the day, they're completely necessary because of all the things we talked about, the presence of AI and the legitimacy of these malicious actors and the efforts that they're undertaking to bring down legitimate companies. But yeah, I look forward to speaking again. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Craig, and you do very important work. As you said, quality of education is very important because we all know that same people are clicking the same bait mails and stuff like that. So very interesting subject. Thank you very much, and one day we'll invite you again to discuss these important topics.
Absolutely.
We're not here to add to the noise. We're here to help you lead with clarity, security, and confidence. Thank you for listening, and subscribe to catch up on all of our future episodes.